does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right? I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to start going through the internet of radical Democrats throughout the years, Ed, who have accused this president falsely of being a racist. And
This may look like a routine press room exchange, but it's actually a referendum on political labeling in modern America. What's really being tested here is whether accusations carry institutional weight or simply fuel partisan narratives. This raises broader questions about how reputations are shaped, by policy records or by rhetoric amplified through media ecosystems. In this video, we'll break down what this confrontation reveals about power, perception, and accountability in today's White House.
I have two questions for
Sure.
you. About Independence Hall in Philadelphia. The administration's decided to appeal a judge's ruling that in essence was trying to put the slavery displays back, arguing that the federal government believed it had the power to disassemble and disassemble historical truths when it has some domain over historical facts. The judge said it does not. The administration said that you were planning to put up updated interpretive materials and provide a fuller account of the history of slavery at Independence Hall. What more was the administration, or is the administration, planning to add?
I'm not familiar with this specific instance, Ed, to be honest with you, but I will check in with the appropriate people who are overseeing this, and we'll get you a more firm answer.
One other question. Then yesterday in his statement about Jesse Jackson, the president said, despite the fact that I'm falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats all, it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right? I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to start going through the internet of radical Democrats throughout the years, Ed, who have accused this president falsely of being a racist. And I'm sure there's many people in this room and on network television across the country who have accused him of the same. In fact, I know that because I've seen it with my own eyes. And the president very much looks forward to having an event later this afternoon at 3 p.m. to celebrate Black History Month and to talk about how his policies are advancing opportunity and prosperity for all Americans through record tax cuts, through the Trump accounts that all Americans can access regardless of race. These are a great thing for the next generation of Americans. The president has also awarded hundreds of millions of dollars in additional funding to strengthen educational outcomes at historically Black colleges and universities across the country. Again, the president is protecting the hard-earned benefits of the 2.4 million Black veterans who honorably served in our nation's armed forces by reducing the backlog of veterans waiting for their VA benefits and for their home loans through the Department of Veterans Affairs. So there is a lot this president has done for all Americans regardless of race, and he has absolutely been falsely called and smeared as a racist, and I'm happy to provide you those receipts, and we gladly will right after this briefing. Jennifer, go.
In the White House briefing room, it began with history, with Independence Hall, with slavery displays, with the question of who has the authority to interpret America's past. A reporter pressed for clarity on why the administration was appealing a judge's ruling and what exactly it planned to add to the narrative of slavery at one of the nation's most sacred landmarks. The answer was cautious. I'm not familiar with this specific instance, Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt said, promising to check and return with more detail. But then the room shifted. The next question cut deeper. It moved from historical displays to personal accusation, from institutional power to presidential character. The reporter quoted the president's own words that he is falsely and consistently called a racist, and asked directly, where or when does the president believe he has been falsely labeled in that way? For a split second, the tension surfaced. You're kidding, right? Leavitt responded. It was not a rehearsed line. It was instinctive. A flash of disbelief that revealed just how charged this subject remains in American politics. And in that moment, the exchange became more than a press briefing. It became a window into the modern presidency, a presidency defined as much by narrative battles as by policy debates. Leavitt did not retreat. She leaned forward into the confrontation. She promised a plethora of examples. She pointed to what she described as years of accusations from political opponents and media figures. She spoke of seeing those accusations with my own eyes. And then she pivoted, not defensively, but strategically, toward policy. She referenced a Black History Month event. She cited record tax cuts. She highlighted funding for historically Black colleges and universities. She spoke of benefits for millions of Black veterans and efforts to reduce backlogs in the Department of Veterans Affairs. Her argument was clear: judge this presidency not by labels, but by outcomes. This is how modern political combat unfolds. Words like racist are no longer whispered in academic debate. They are deployed in headlines, in campaign ads, in viral clips. They shape reputations, they shape elections, and they shape the way history will remember leaders. For critics, the president's rhetoric and certain policy positions have justified strong condemnation. For supporters, those condemnations represent an overreach, a political strategy designed to delegitimize rather than debate. The truth of any accusation is contested in real time, filtered through partisan media ecosystems, and amplified across social platforms. But what stood out in that briefing room was not just the accusation itself. It was the broader struggle over moral framing. Who defines a leader's character? Opponents, allies, the public, the press? Or the measurable results of governance? The reporter's question forced the administration to confront that moral framing directly. It demanded specificity. It challenged the claim of false accusation. And it highlighted a central tension in American political life: the collision between perception and performance. In a democracy, leaders are judged not only by what they do, but by how they are understood. Every word matters. Every action is interpreted. And every accusation carries weight because it touches on the nation's deepest fault lines: race, fairness, equality, opportunity. Leavitt's response sought to re-anchor the conversation in policy achievements. She argued that the administration's record demonstrates commitment to prosperity for all Americans, regardless of race. She framed the accusations as smears, as distortions of intent and outcome. She promised evidence. She promised receipts. And in doing so, she underscored a larger truth about power in America. It is never exercised in silence. It is contested, challenged, interrogated in public view. The presidency is not merely an office of executive authority. It is a symbol. And symbols invite scrutiny. When the charge is as serious as racial bias, the scrutiny intensifies. The question becomes not only whether the accusation is fair, but how a leader responds to it. With anger, with dismissal, with data, with defiance. What unfolded in that room was defiance paired with counter-argument. A refusal to accept the premise of the accusation, and an attempt to shift the conversation toward tangible policy measures. Yet the deeper issue remains unresolved, not in that briefing room and not in a single news cycle. It remains a national conversation about language, about responsibility, about the standards to which presidents should be held, and about how history will judge both the accusations and the defenses. Independence Hall was mentioned at the start of the exchange, a place where the Declaration of Independence was debated, amended, and signed. A place where the promise of equality was articulated even as slavery remained a painful contradiction within the young republic. The irony is unmistakable. America has always wrestled with its ideals, with who gets to define them, with who measures up to them. That struggle continues. The question asked in the briefing room was not trivial. It was not casual. It reflected the enduring tension between political rivalry and moral judgment. And it reminded us that in a free society, even the most powerful office holder can and will be asked to account for the words used to describe him. Whether one believes the accusations are justified or unfounded, the responsibility of democratic citizenship remains the same: to examine the facts, to weigh the evidence, to listen critically, and to demand accountability from every side. Because the health of the republic does not depend on silence. It depends on scrutiny, on debate, on the courage to ask difficult questions, and the discipline to answer them with substance. This is Liberty Report USA. We bring you the moments that define the narrative and the meaning behind them. If you believe in holding power to account, in questioning the story beneath the headline, and in preserving the integrity of American debate, subscribe to Liberty Report USA and support our work to expose the truth.